welcome again, back again to the Baseball Talk Radio Show. We are live on Facebook, and I am Gary Mack, and I'm joined, as usual, this week by the great Rich Baxter. Rich, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you very much, Gary. Thanks for the introduction. And as you said, yeah, we're streaming live on Facebook. Hello, everybody out there on Facebook.
Hello, everybody in Facebook land.
Yes.
Rich, it's getting crazy out there. Phillies lost a tough one last night in a wild game with the Marlins and bounced back today in another wild one, winning with a walk-off home run after trailing the whole game. So things are tighten up in the National League East. The Mets are playing right now. They are down to nothing. It is the top of the second. They're playing Milwaukee. Atlanta has a 13-game winning streak that they're putting on the line this evening. So things are getting very, very interesting all across the board.
Yes, they are. As you said, the NL East, the Phillies had a 9-game winning streak strung together there back a couple games ago. And Atlanta with that on fire, winning 13 in a row, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there. And yeah, the Braves are on fire. They're 36 and 27 as the start of tonight, as we're taping the podcast on June 15th here, midweek. We're going to kind of switch over to midweek for the summer because we got things going on the weekend. So we hope you like tuning in during the midweek and, of course, on the weekend if you listen to our show from there. But yeah, Gary, the NL East is turning into a dogfight all of a sudden.
Yeah, Mets had a big lead, and thank goodness they did because it's down. It's cut in half, but it's to be expected. It's not that easy to maintain lead, and with the amount of injuries that they have incurred, um, it's almost understandable in a way. So. Uh, we'll see what happens. Should make it interesting, however, and that's what we're all about. We're all about interesting stuff. So hopefully the season will be interesting with the Mets coming up on top. Of course, that would be fun. But we'll see what happens. Not to knock Atlanta's winning streak at all. It's quite an accomplishment, but really didn't beat any teams, 500 teams, or that good at teams. But you know what? That's what you have to do. You have to beat the dregs, and they beat the Pirates. They beat the Nationals. They beat the Rockies and the D-backs, who are a feisty team, but still they're below or hovering around the 500 mark. So. It's not to discredit their 13-game winning streak. It's still a difficult thing to do. Uh, but, their schedule's been kind of easy. And, again, that's what you have to do when you're a contender. It gets tougher next week. So we'll see when they get some real stiff competition, Giants and the Dodgers and the like of those. Teams. We'll see how they perform then. But congratulations to them. 13 games is a pretty neat thing to go on, and who can argue with it?
Yeah, it doesn't happen often with most teams. Of course, night in, night out, it's a tough thing to win a game one, let alone 13. But on the other end of the spectrum, we're looking at the results here, and the Pirates are on a nasty 9-game losing streak. I was watching them against the Cardinals the other night, and they just can't seem to string anything together practically. And, they're sinking pretty fast there in the NL Central. But the Cards are rising to the challenge there. They're 37 and 27 now. They're first place in the NL Central.
Right, right. And Dodgers are in their usual spot in first place in the West, though they're in a almost a dead heat with the San Diego Padres right now, but the Giants are right behind them, so too. So we got a dogfight going on in two different places, and again, tight races make it interesting. You just hope that your team can pull away.
Yeah, the Dodgers with that plus 108 run differential there, that's huge. If you look at the Pirates, they're on the opposite end of the schedule. They're 103 minus run differential, meaning teams have scored 103 more runs than they have against them. So uh, cream is rising to the top, so to speak.
Yeah, and Padres doing it without Fernando Tatis Jr., who is out, injured since I think the beginning of the year, pretty much, and it looks like he's not going to be ready to come back anytime soon. So, pretty amazing that they're doing it without their uh, big name, as you might say. Still got Manny Machado, who's having a terrific year, and it's interesting. A lot of injuries coming lately to big stars.
Yeah, yeah. Some Tommy John surgery scheduled, as we've seen in the last couple years. It's starting to creep up now that it's June. I think about three big league pitchers have moved into that. Hun Jin Ryu from the Toronto Blue Jays is the latest season ending elbow surgery. A couple of others, Walker Bueller with a strain, 2 to 3 months out for the Dodgers, and Casey Mize undergoing uh, Tommy John surgery as well. So, not good news with some of that Tommy John stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely not, and uh, it's terrible. But you have to wonder whether that's shortened spring training had anything to do with all of these issues that we're running into now.
Yeah, yeah, that's completely possible. And the other night, last night in LA, it was the Dodgers and the Anaheim or LA Anaheim Angels, actually. Mike Trout up to bat in the ninth inning, and all of a sudden you have a broken bat from Trout. I don't know if you saw this story, Gary, but the umpire suffered a he escaped a serious injury, but still suffered being hit in the face by the jagged end of Mike Trout's broken bat. Went
Hmm.
flying through the air and went in between his helmet and his face guard there. And it was a scary situation.
Oh,
As you can see, if you're watching the video here on the screen, there's a look at it. And the bat actually went flying through the
wow.
air, tumble salted right in through the mask of the umpire, and got him pretty bad there. I got cut up, but no serious injuries, thank goodness.
Oh, thank goodness. Yeah, yeah. It's a worrisome thing, you know. It just goes to show you what could happen, and no way to prevent it. Maybe they got to. Maybe the umpires have got to get the glass shields or plexiglass shields like the hockey players get to protect their eyes and face. But that might, the reflection of light and stuff. You wonder if that would throw off their calling balls and strikes. But there's got to be something that they can do in this day and age that would be that would work for that. Also, the fogging up, I guess, but there's anti-fog stuff that they could use. So
Uh,
it'd be interesting to see if they come up with something that the umpires, to protect them a little more, because they're probably the most. Well, I wouldn't say the most vulnerable, but they're pretty, pretty vulnerable out there.
yeah, they are. They're, right in the middle of every play, and the Dodger manager said he had never seen something like that. A bat splintering and going right into the umpire's mask, but it was a broken bat hit too. Mike Trout had to run to first. He didn't seem like he wanted to, but the ball blooped into short field, and he made it down the first safe. Of course, he was very upset by what had happened.
Yeah, without a doubt, and the fact that he had to run, probably, he obviously his heart wasn't in that hit. But everything worked out, and he'll take it for his average.
Yes, he will. Well, moving on to another story that we brought up last week, and one that we talked right before we started the show, the Chevrolet All Star balloting for the 22 All Star game is now underway in virtually, that is, MLB.com/all-star/ballot. And you had fun the other night on the show. You picked a ballot.
Yes, I did. I was on with the boys from Baseball and Barbecue, Jeff and Len. They do a terrific show, and they asked me to come on, and we did a ballot. We all did a ballot on the air, and it was a lot of fun. And one thing I found that the American League I don't know a lot about, but there was some tough choices at some positions in the National League. First base was a tough choice because there's really you can make a case for four guys in the National League, and my four would be Freddie Freeman, who would be would be a popular choice. Paul Goldschmidt, who's got the numbers, his numbers are off the wall. Pete Alonso, whose numbers are close to Goldschmidt as far as home runs. And the last one, the wild card in that, is Josh Bell, who's having a fine year for the Nationals. So he'll probably get selected as the team. You got to have somebody. So, but four potential guys you could name for first base in that, and any one of them. You could even add Hosmer. He's having a real nice year too. So any one of them could be a good representative. But I think, if I remember correctly, I voted for Goldschmidt in the National League, and in the American League, I went a little different because the popular choice is going to be Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I went against that. I went with a guy that I saw when Seattle was in playing the Mets, who was just enormously annoying. And I looked at his numbers, and he's having a pretty good year. And his name is Ty France. Hit a home run again last night, as a matter of fact. So I went with Ty France. Don't know if he'll get it. I think Guerrero will probably get it, but he's having a nice year if you look at those numbers of his. And you could consider Jared Walsh as well over in the American League. He's having a fine year as well. But I just went with Ty France. Get the most RBIs. He's just having a real good year, and I think he would be a good choice.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
about you, Rich?
As you said, yeah, there's a lot of great choices. I do agree with you so far on Paul Goldschmidt. He's kind of running away with the field there with a 349 batting average,
Right,
16 homers, 56 batted in. We're not even at the All Star break yet. That's a lot of RBIs.
right,
Um, like you said, it's a dogfight with the American League. You have a number of different guys that can win that one. But as you said, I think Vladimir Guerrero will probably pull that out with popular vote. But we'll see. Been reading some other articles on different players and all, and it's a toss up on a lot of these
right,
guys.
right. Second base was a little bit easier in the National League with Albies being out now. He's going to be out 6 weeks with an injury. I like Jazz Chisholm, but I went with the hometown kid. I went with Jeff McNeil. Could have went with Gavin Lux or Jonathan India, but I stuck close to home. Went with Jeff McNeil. He's got the numbers. What is it? 319 average. Only 3 home runs, but he's got 29 RBI. So, I went with Jeff McNeil in the National League, and the American League was a little tougher for me. Altuve is obviously the choice, but I went with somebody who actually got somewhat better numbers. Andres Jimenez, I voted for. So, Cleveland Guardians second baseman, former Met prospect, having a nice year for the Guardians. So I went with Mr. Jimenez.
Yeah, that sounds like a great pick. And like you said, at National League, 29 RBIs with McNeil. He hits for average. He's not a home run hitter per se. Not a bad pick at all.
Yeah.
Moving
Now
over to third base is interesting as well. Who did you like in the National League?
it is. I. I like the kid Hayes in Pittsburgh is good. Uh, Arenado, of course, is always an all star. But I went with Manny Machado this year. Machado having a real big year. He's got the big contract there with the Padres. They're winning. So I went with Machado at third. Um, in the American League, I had a toss up here between Jose Ramirez of Cleveland and Rafael Devers, and I went with the Red Sox man, the Rafael Devers for third base.
Very nice, nice. Yeah, there seems to be Rafael Devers having a great year, almost equivalent to Machado in a certain way. There, he's
Mm-hmm.
got a higher batting average. He's got more home runs than Machado, and he's got the same amount of RBIs. So not a bad pick at all. And as you said, Machado certainly has the numbers. Are talking about MVP for him possibly as well
Mm-hmm.
if it keeps going on.
If it keeps going, yeah.
You want to roll through shortstop?
Shortstop, yeah. Shortstop was a little difficult. Is really, I'm trying to think now. Who did I vote for? Brandon Crawford's been the guy for the last couple of years, but he's struggled. Um, Lindor's struggled. Tatis Jr. Trey Turner's having a good year. You could vote for him, but I did not vote for him. I forget who I voted for now. I voted for somebody. Roll it up and let's see
Maybe
who else.
Lindor, hometown.
No, I didn't vote for Lindor.
Oh, he's got 9 homers and 45 RBIs.
Yeah. I voted for who the heck did I
Willie
vote
Adames,
for?
maybe with the 11 home runs.
No.
Well, you know you can
My
vote
mind's I voted for somebody.
several times, so it's not like the
I know
presidential
who I
vote.
vote. I know who I voted for. Dansby Swanson. That's who I voted for.
Okay,
I just
all
thought
right.
he's having a nice year. He's a breakout year for him, and he's doing well, having a real good year. So I went with Dansby Swanson.
Very cool. And remember him when you go to your local frozen food. You get a
Yeah.
Swanson dinner. Over in,
Uh,
over in the American League, it's we're not. I'm not an American League follower, so it's tougher for me. But this certainly seems like Bo Bichette might have a chance at this. His
Bo
first.
Bichette, yeah. Xander Bogarts got a shot too. He's got the numbers, but I went with Tim Anderson. 356 average, 5 home runs, 19 RBIs. That's the guy I went. He hits high in the order, so that's why the RBI numbers are probably not higher at that point. But that 356 average is pretty gaudy, plays a terrific shortstop. So I went with Tim and Anderson.
Very cool. And of course, plenty of time to get your vote in here, going through phase one to the end of June. So you have a good 15 days left to vote and get your votes in. You can vote up to 5 times a day, every 24 hours, so per email address. So if you have your account with an email address for MLB.com, you can go right on the website, and probably, I would think next week, Gary, we might have some numbers. We might have some results so far.
Yeah, soon. Yeah, people voting early and often. So
So that'll be fun. Um, but around the league, the race is heating up. Do you want to talk about a little bit about the American League race here, as
sure.
we talked about the National League already? And what can you say? The Yankees are really pouring it on there in the AL East.
Yankees are pouring it on. They're beating up the teams that they have to beat up, and you know they've got the best record, I guess, in baseball right now. So uh, taking care of business, and I, what's their lead? Is it 9 games there? I can't see it right there.
9 games, yes.
Yeah, they've opened it up and probably will cruise home. I don't think either one of us, or you might have picked them as a wild card or something. I didn't pick them at all, but that's why never listen to what I say.
Yeah, we had some pretty good picks there this year, and we'll review them probably at the All Star break. We'll bring up a schematic of who we picked. I have it saved. But yeah, they're 27-7 at home. The Yankees 18-9 away with a 129 run differential. The best team in baseball, arguably by the numbers right now. 9-1 in their last 10, and they're on a 5-game winning streak. So they're having an easy time of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, enough said about the Yankees. How about those Minnesota Twins and Cleveland Guardians? Everybody was picking Chicago to repeat in this division, and Chicago is there, but they've been a bit of a disappointment. Cleveland's a big surprise, and Minnesota is a big surprise. But they were good, Minnesota, a couple of years ago, and uh, they stumbled last year, and so people kind of wrote them off, but they spent a little bit of money in the off season, and they're right there, right on top. It's a close lead, but they've got the first place going into the middle of June, so congratulations. They're playing well, as is the Cleveland Guardians, with, not a lot is known about their lineup. A new name, new, everything, insignias, and there they are in second place. And in the West, no surprise, Houston claiming their throne again and opened up to a big lead over the Rangers and the Angels, who just collapsed completely. I don't know what else you can say about it. Seattle had a lot of expectations, and they have not played up to their ability. Oakland, we didn't think would do much because of they traded a lot of their guys, breaking up that team. So it is what it is. But Angels a real big disappointment because they were playing so well and just fell apart. And what can you say? Cost the manager his job.
Yeah, they ran into a nasty 10, 11 game losing streak,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll do it. The pressure gets mounted. We heard about the Yankees skipper being under pressure this year, but look at how can you fire a manager when you're 45-16?
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah, well, all
But
of a sudden they put it together, and that was it. That was it. They started rolling, and I still don't know how they're doing it. Their pitching staff is eh, half the guys you never heard of. Maybe that's why, because nobody's ever heard of these guys, and they're fooling everybody right now. Or maybe they just, they had a good minor league system, so maybe some of the guys are paying off. Um, don't watch a lot of them. Don't care to. We'll see them in a couple of weeks. They're playing a two-game set with the Mets. I think it's coming up in, I don't know if it's July or what. I don't have my schedule handy. So I'll see more of that. That should be an interesting New York series, though, with both teams being in first place.
yeah, it's almost like harkening back to the Subway series of 2000, was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. See if maybe something like that can happen again. You never know. But today, Gary, I don't know if you heard, the Fed raised the rates on the interest rates 0.75% here on June 15th, 2022. It's set off a little concern amongst investors and things. And here's an article. Where do you put your money in a bear market? And believe it or not, one of the recommendations was try wine, art, and baseball cards to hold on to some of your value
Okay.
in your investments there. But wine, of course, holds a nice value. Art, we've heard over the years, and there's that nasty word NFT. We still have to get somebody in to
Ay, ay, ay.
explain that. Watches and collectibles. So, baseball cards and sports cards. Of course, we've been talking about them. They've been on the rise in recent years. And almost $1 billion worth of sports cards were traded on eBay alone in the first quarter of 2021. So
Wow.
$871 million worth of cards changed hands. That's a lot. So card collecting is hot again, and it's supposed to be good for a bad economy. So thinking about protecting some of that cabbage, you might want to invest in some cards.
Yeah, well. First, you gotta have some cabbage. So,
You got to grow the cabbage,
my
right?
cabbage patch is empty, and I'm going from check to check, right? But I don't
Yeah.
know. It does have me worried because my mortgage, the percentage rate could go up and could really, I could be doing a show from a different location.
A new studio.
A new studio or a corner of an apartment room or something, or
Well,
who knows, maybe from my car, you
we'll,
know.
we'll we'll put a positive spin on it.
Yeah.
We
Well, I
can
do have some old baseball cards. Maybe there's some money in them.
yes, indeed. Well, the world of baseball getting closer and closer to that All-Star game, and that's an important part of the season. This weekend, of course, is the real Father's Day. I know I talked about it on the last show. And of course, half the home teams of last week celebrated Father's Day at home. So teams like the Phillies that were home celebrated it, and some other teams. So Father's Day and Mother's Day get like two celebrations within the baseball world.
Yes, yes, they do, and rightfully so, right?
Yes, indeed.
And this week also is the second annual baseball draft combine. It's underway right now, and it's running through Monday at Petco Park in San Diego, where 255 prospects are hoping to boost their stock. I don't know if it's. I guess it's by some sort of invite. I don't think anybody could just show up and say, "Hey, I'm a baseball player," and get like a tryout. I don't think they have. I don't even think they do that anymore. Open tryouts. They used to do them when I was a kid. Um,
They should bring it back, by the way. I mean, you can't tell me that there's better pitchers somewhere out there that don't have a uniform on, those kind of things. You just can't tell me that. There's too many people that have played baseball over the years and, talented people that probably just never thought about it.
Yeah, well, years ago, like I said, they had open tryouts, and one was in my area. I actually went to one. Don't ask me why. Obviously, they didn't invite me uh, for the Chicago White Sox.
Uh-huh.
And when I did okay, I held my own, but the talent was unbelievable that were there, and those guys, some of those didn't even make it, but a couple of them got minor league invites or got invites to the next year's spring training and minor league camp spring training and um, but you don't see much of that anymore. They used to hold them sometimes at the stadium when the team was on a road trip. Even they have, but it's so organized, and there's so many places to play, and there's so many people playing, whether it be prep schools, high schools, colleges. They have these traveling teams. They have these uh, different leagues. We didn't have all of that when I grew up. I mean, we had our local league, and then there was, Connie Mack and Babe Ruth and all of that. But not like it is now. And as soon as the weather changed, we put the gloves away and brought out the footballs and the basketballs and you don't see too much of that. You see some guys that are multi-sport in high school and whatnot, but it's kind of a dying on. People are dedicating themselves now to one sport, and maybe had I done it, maybe who knows? They would have gave me a halfway ticket to Florida.
Hey, you never know. And
I
that
doubt it.
that was the draw for an amateur to possibly make it somewhere in baseball.
Yeah.
And I just know out there's got to be people that pitch and things like that, and they just never followed through with it. And yeah, we're stuck with the group that stay in the MLB. A lot of the pitchers aren't that great, and they're making millions of dollars a year.
Well, I played ball with a guy, and his father was a pretty good ball player. And his father had an invite to an open tryout. I forget for what team. It was in New York, but he had just gotten married, and he had no spikes, and money was tight. He couldn't see himself buying spikes, so he never went to the tryout. But now, could you remember? Could you imagine had he gone and made it? And of course, that was in the '50s, so the money wasn't there either. You know,
Yeah,
in those days. But they made pretty good money for what they did. But he never regretted it. He went on to have a nice career in business and did okay for himself there. So, um, but my buddy used to tell the story and say, "Damn, well, my father could have been in the pros." In fact, he had an uncle that was a scout for the San Francisco Giants, and then came to the New York Mets and became a head. I think the head of scouting eventually. Buddy Kerr, his name was, and so he had a lot of connection to baseball. But um, you know, you don't see those kind of things nowadays, like that, like years gone by. It's all a business. I mean, it always was a business, but now it's all computerized and categorized and everything else. So
yeah, very cool. Well, we haven't heard too much about one of our loves of baseball, and that, of course, is the food at the ballparks. But I looked up a quick spot here for, ranking all of the ballparks by the best food and snacks. And this website called Thrillist com came up with the number one park in the land, the Seattle Mariners. And
Wow.
they say the best item there is almost everything. What can possibly be said about the food available at T-Mobile Park that hasn't already been said? So
Gee.
they talk about their lobster rolls sitting atop a King's Hawaiian roll at Sound Seafood, and some other things as well. So they're claiming that Seattle has the best food in the MLB. All kinds of nice
Do they
things
have
there.
other teams listed down there, or
Yeah, they actually list them all 30
Oh,
teams.
what's
They're
the
claiming
worst?
the worst will go up to the top of the article here, real quick. Here, I apologize for scrolling
It's got to be
fast.
Oakland.
Let's see, 30th. Yeah, Oakland. Unfortunately,
Yeah, Oakland's low in everything.
it's a shame. Average. Above average food options. They say, a little rough around the edges and scarce in concessions. Things are scrappy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they have food trucks
Okay.
at
Well,
a, so
that's not a bad
that's
idea.
that's tough. That is tough.
It is tough.
I wonder where they rank the cheesesteak of Philadelphia. Let's see. Let me find it for you real quick. They're getting there in the top 10, I think. And of course, crab cake sandwich in Baltimore. You can't go
Yeah.
wrong. Pittsburgh with their barbecue and their hero hoagie there. And where the heck is the Phillies?
Whoa, what did the Mets got? Number
Oh,
three.
Mets are number 3, yeah, with the Fuku chicken sandwich,
Okay.
section 102.
Hmm.
So they're up number 3 there. And there's plenty of food options at Citi Field. It's getting me hungry right now, actually. And let's see where the Phillies are. I scrolled through there so fast.
There
There
you
they are.
go.
Number 14, cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak.
Tony Luke's. Although I prefer Campos. They're mentioned in there for the famous chicken cheesesteak.
And they don't even mention Bull's Barbecue.
No, not much on that. And they've reduced the size of Bull's Barbecue. By the way,
Wow.
they used to occupy a corner out in right field. They moved them completely across the park into left field and sort of stuck them in a corner
Wow.
and reduced the size of it by, I'm going to say, a quarter of the size it used to be. They used to occupy a big part of that right field area.
I was told it was very good.
Yeah, I usually opt for the chicken cheesesteak when I go there or something else, but I think I might have had the barbecue once over the years, which isn't much as many times as I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe I'll try it again. I'm not much of a pulled pork guy, so that's probably one of the things. They have the big turkey legs, and I'm not that guy.
No, me
I,
neither.
I can't sit there munching a turkey leg. But it's interesting. It's there.
Well, it's funny because my wife and I were talking today about uh, old days when I was a kid, 10 years old, and going to games. What I remembered about some of them, and it's funny the stuff you remember. But when you think about it, back in those days, and I'm talking about the early '60s, '61, '62, '63. You had no choice. I mean, your choice was a hot dog, pretty much, and that was about it. I mean, they had ice cream, they had soda, of course, they had
Yeah.
peanuts, and popcorn was big, and the Mets used to serve it in a megaphone, about I guess 12 inches,
Uh-huh.
and then you could use the megaphone. It was decorated, had Mr. Met on it and stuff. Um, and a bag of popcorn went in it, and I don't know whether it was 50 cents a quarter or something. We laugh at
Uh-huh.
the prices now, but in those days, that was a week's allowance for us. Um, so it's interesting now to read about all these choices, and just for an example, you said the Mets Fuku chicken. Nobody ever thought of eating anything like that at the ballpark. We used to bring peanut butter and jelly or a ham sandwich or something with us. We
Yeah.
we never mainly maybe buy a soda, but we always used to bring it, and now people looking to dine out there at fine cuisine. Um, so it's funny, the evolution of the whole thing, but good for them. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I happen to be old enough to remember the old days where, like I said, you got a hot dog, and that was, I don't even think, maybe some of the stands had a hamburger or something.
Oh,
But it was a big deal when they started bringing in French fries and stuff, and
yeah.
whoa. And then Shea Stadium, and I guess it was the '80s. They opened up Casey's Deli, named after Casey Stengel. On one of the levels, they opened up this deli, and they made like deli sandwiches. And people from New York know what I'm talking about. And that was something to behold. And but yeah, when the early days, it was a hot dog, it was popcorn, peanuts, a soda, a beer.
Your
Not that I
your
had beer. It was,
basics.
yeah, it was just, that was it. And it was handheld food. There was nothing with a spoon that you needed.
Right.
I don't even think in the early days they had ice cream. If they did, it was a Dixie cup with the old wooden spoons that they gave you. I don't
Right.
know if that's before your time. Maybe that was it for the ice cream, but I can't think of anything else that they sold. But it is what it is, and everything changed, and now it's all part of the package. So
Yes, it
you
is.
know,
It's
there you go.
all part and parcel with the game and going out and being entertained, so to speak. And right around the corner is July 4th, only about 2 weeks away from now, 2 weekends plus. So that'll be nice around the ballparks. You get the fireworks and all that jazz. And, fun times coming around the ballpark, some concerts and things like that. So get out there and try to enjoy them.
Yeah, get out when the weather's nice. Hopefully, with a nice dry summer, and the games will all get in. We won't have a lot of double headers to make up games in the second half of the season, and hopefully your team does well.
Yes, indeed. Well, thanks very much for joining into this edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Thank you, Facebook out there, and we'll disconnect from the Facebook crowd. And there we go. Thanks for watching. And Gary, it was nice talking to you again on the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Looking forward to another great weekend of baseball here, and even more as time goes on.
Always a pleasure, Rich, and let's keep root for the home team, and hope that they win. If they don't win, it's a shame.
That's for sure. A crying shame sometimes. It's, thanks for listening to this edition. We'll talk about our listeners next week. We'll bring up the stats, things like that, and I'm sure we'll have a ton more stories from the world of baseball. Thanks for listening, everyone.